Hey there, it's the AK Option Trader back at you here. What the week had last week, huh? Finished off with a real, pretty strong down day on Friday, but it really didn't end down as far as it did. We had a little bit of a rally there at the end, but I think we're going to see another down day on Monday. We had some pretty bad banking news on Friday. They wait till after the close, and a bank goes bankrupt. Woo! I think they do that on purpose anyway, so we'll see how the market digests the news this weekend. Furthermore, we had some jobs numbers that came out worse than expected, some housing numbers that aren't good. We got housing numbers coming out this week. We got jobs numbers coming out this week. I think things are not so hot, but again, like I said, August, like I've said in the past, August is usually a month that finishes pretty much close to where it opened. Either side down or up a little bit, probably mostly down to where it usually opens. So let's keep an eye on it. So anyway, let's start with the old VIX. The old VIX. The interesting thing about the VIX, look at this. So we had a down day. The Dow ended up down how many? 70 some points on Friday, 76.79, and the VIX was down 0.44, 1.78%. You say, what in the heck is going on? Well, that's what I say. Something's going on. I don't quite understand it, but when I pull up the old VXN, which is the Nasdaq VIX, look at this. It actually finished up a little bit, 0.60%, 0.15. So the Nasdaq VIX, the volatility up there made a little bit of sense. You can see, though, we had a real big top tail on there, so it sold off strong at the end of the day there. I think it was a bit of an end of the day sell-off. So what I'm going to do now, right in front of your very eyes, we're going to take this VIX here, and I noticed something when I was looking at this earlier, and draw myself a little trend line. We'll start right down here and go right up to here. In fact, we're going to use the bodies and not the wick, so I'm going to move it up a little bit more. But if we use the candle bodies, which seem to be more important on the VIX, we got a new uptrend line started here. Now this one is still our primary. This is still a strong one. This one's still going to be in play. This has now become a secondary trend line. Okay, hit here, almost hit here for a third time. All right, so we're going to keep watching. Again, my theory holds true. If we come back up here, sit on here for a while, I think we're going to take off like a rocket off this thing. But if this breaks, and now if this one breaks, this market's probably going to rally. All right, so we're going to keep an eye on it. These are all long wicks, wicked wicks going down on this thing, okay? Which tells me that every time it tries to rally, it gets knocked down, it gets knocked down, it gets knocked down. In fact, it could actually be a little bit of a bull flag if there was more of an up run into it, but it's not. So anyway, we're just going to go ahead and throw another trend line on there. Let's keep an eye on this. Let's see if this breaks. Right now, we closed at 24.27, so that'll be something we're going to be watching on Monday. Into the Dow. All right, you can see the volume here, still kind of peaked, still going down, but it looks pretty bearish. I mean, it looks pretty bearish here. We broke this nice steep trend line, but we broke it going sideways. We didn't really break it on a down move, okay? Just kind of broke it going sideways and been going sideways on it ever since. This is a pretty bearish candle here, okay? It's not quite a bearish engulfing, but it's still a pretty bearish looking candle hanging up there after that hanging man. So most of these are all reversal candles. Nothing has come of it as of yet, but I expect sometime soon. All right, so let's go on to the Nasdaq. This is the one last week I said this looked like a bull flag for me here, and it was. It popped out to the upside like we thought. But now look at this. Immediately, we got a dragonfly doji followed by a nice bearish candle hanging on right there. But it's sitting right on support, okay? So we're going to need to see this break support with some volume before we can say this is going to be bearish. But usually on these flags, we're going to see a little bit more up move than we saw. You know, it popped up here, made a little bit of a new high there, but it couldn't hold it. And that's the key, is where these things are holding and where things are closing right now. That's what we're going to be watching. That's what we're going to be looking for. It's going to become ever more important as we go on to the fall. All right. And one more. Let's jump on to the S&P. Now this one here is really, really interesting to me. And I've been talking about it a lot this week on the blog. I've been posting it, looking at it, been real curious about this. This line here seems real crucial to me. It's just playing around it a lot. I mean, it is just playing around with this line. You got hanging man. You got hanging man all over the place. You've got this could almost be a hanging man if the body wasn't so big, but it did finish down. It did finish beneath it. What's curious about it is we're now beneath this line, okay, and it looks very similar to what we ran in here. Look at this, very similar. Remember, I kept saying this thing is going to eventually pop through sometime. It's going to drop, and it did. Boom, boom, pretty good drop all the way down to the low around 870 from a high of 950, whatever it is, 954, 955, somewhere in there. Pretty good drop before we made our trend line. We made our new uptrend line. Probably going to see the same thing here. It's probably not going to be as big of a drop because we're going to run into that trend line right here. Okay, but anyway, that's what I'm looking for. Is probably it could hang out here another 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Who knows? I mean, here it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 days touching that line. So we could see a lot more time up here. But I'm thinking when it drops, it's going to drop down pretty good. We may pierce this. We're going to have to watch when we get to it. Okay, so the natural retracement would be somewhere into this area, 950 area. So dropping here, we'd have to break through that trend line to get there. So anyway, those are things I'm looking at. Let us put some studies on here and let's take a look at some stocks. XLB, this one I really liked. Came up on our wedge here that we've been watching. Okay, we got a pretty nice ascending pennant. All right. It did break to the top of it a little bit, but it never cleared it. And then it broke again, and now we've got a real nice strong bearish candle. We're engulfing this thing. I'll be looking for this thing to drop to the bottom of this pennant right into this area here, depending how long it takes. So 28 bucks, somewhere like that. Just going to depend on how long it takes, okay? Here's one of our old favorites that I'm always watching. Is the old BGG. BGG had earnings last week. Look at this. It's really interesting to me. Came up, gapped up a little bit. Covered with the wick, rallied back up, and then the next day we kind of got a bearish engulfing candle on top of that near the top Bollinger Band. Why I find this curious is we're closed right on this line or right beneath the top of our line. You can see I didn't draw it right at the top. I just drew it at what area looks the most logical to me. In fact, I could probably bring it down a few millimeters and it would be a better spot. But if you look, we're beneath it. But look at this candle formation here. It looks very similar, doesn't it, to this right here, except for the gap up area. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see a little bit of a fall here. Maybe with this gap we might see even farther than we saw here. Something down in this area here, the $15 area perhaps, something like that. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. We got the stock RSI heading down. We got the MACD heading down. And low volume, more volume on the update, low volume on Friday, but it was low volume all over the market on Friday. I would have liked to have seen some volume with that move to have some conviction with it. Next one we're going to be looking at is WMT Walmart. Look at this thing. This is one I've shorted several times this last few months. Another time, I think we're in another area for doing it. I like watching this one quite a bit. Walmart, if you look at the indicators down here, we're into the overbought area, pretty high on the MACD. Could see this turnover easy. Got a dragonfly doji followed by spinning top, somewhat of a spin top. Outside the top Bollinger Band, up high. I think this thing needs to come back down. I'm probably going to hit this line right here, I'd imagine. So it's not going to fall a lot, maybe $1.80, $1.50, something like that. But I think it's going to come down, and then I'm going to be watching to see if I can play it to the upside. All right. Speaking of upside, let's look at one that I think might pop. That's Exxon. Look at this. We're in a wedge here, and you'd think, oh, hey, we're going to continue down. I think this line here is going to offer some support. It looks like it wants to stall out here. Just look the way it's playing around here. Now, it could hang out here and then drop like a rock down here, but it's just looking to me like it wants to bounce off here and pop back up to the upside. So this is XOM. Indicators are already heading down, so we'll see what happens here. All right, had to do an edit there, but finally we're going to finish off with PH, Parker Hannifin Corporation. Anyway, I just like this real nice one here. It's got a volume divergence heading up. See this nice uptrend line here. Got a little bit of a wedge trumpet type thing here, megaphone type thing. If you come up like this, like that. But I like it's on top Bollinger Band, and if you get rid of this line, you can see that we got a nice doji followed by a darn near bearish engulfing candle with a volume divergence. So this is one I could be looking for a drop off here back to this trend line. So that's it. That's all I got for this week. You know, like I said, we could be moving sideways for a while, or we could before we drop, or we could just start to drop. You got to be on your toes. So play the intraday moves, play the moves to the upside. Long term, I am still bearish. So this will be the AK Option Trader signing off.